On Sister Wives Season 20, the Browns are experiencing one of the most dramatic family turns, but nobody bears the burden of change more than Janelle. For years, she has existed in the background, walking the tangled puzzle of relationships, attempting to keep the peace and relinquishing parts of herself for the sake of the family. But on this season, everything changes. What starts out as a serene moment of contemplation becomes an odyssey that will strain the boundaries of love, faithfulness, and self. The home is still. The home of domesticity has dissipated into an atmosphere of faraway remembrances. Light pours through the blinds, lighting up the pictures on the walls, smiling faces locked in eternity, snap shades of holidays, vacations, and regular days now seeming touched with sadness. Janelle is seated in the kitchen table, open journal in front of her, coffee getting cold in a cup that she fails to notice. She runs her fingers across the lines she has written earlier, thoughts scribbled in the middle of the night, words that tell of years of compromise, frustration, and unrealized heartache. It's here in this stillness that Janelle knows something she has been trying to keep hidden for far too long. She is not the woman she was, the one who used to twist herself into pretzels, trying to make everyone happy. Husband, kids, co-wives is weary. She's spent trying to keep up with a marriage that requires constant negotiation, constant compromise, and constant giving. And for the first time in years, she begins to question whether the life she's been living is truly her own at all. The idea hits her like a lightning bolt. Spiritual divorce, not legal, not merely formal documents in a courthouse, but something much deeper. It is an asserting of self, a proclamation that she will no longer be defined by her marriage alone. It is a boundary, a lifeline, and a test all at once. Janelle is aware this road will not be simple. She pictures Kody's response, the pain, the rage, the incredulity. She considers Robyn, Christine, and Meri, each holding his or her own interest in this delicate, volatile game of family dynamic. And yet, despite the fear, despite the doubt, a spark flickers to life within her. This is the start of something fresh, something real, something she has waited all these years for. Janelle reclines in her chair and allows the realization to flood over her. Season 20 has led her to this moment of silence, where the silence in the house is louder than any shouting exchange, louder than any fight, louder than any courtroom drama the family has ever known. She feels the burden of the past weighing down on her, but also the excitement of what is to come. The world is vast, enigmatic, and in waiting, and for the first time in years, she allows herself a glimmer of hope. She closes her book and stands, the floorboards groaning beneath her feet. Each corner of the home carries a memory, some happy, some sad, but each is a reminder of just how far she has traveled. She's prepared to battle her past, to stand up to Kody, and to create a life that is hers, and hers alone. The idea of going to New Orleans, of plunging into a city that pulsates with music, culture, and spiritual power, thrills and intimidates her. But she cannot resist the summons. There is something in the city that offers her clarity, a direction, and maybe even the strength to announce her spiritual independence. Little does she realize, the path she is about to take will not only test her own view of herself, but will set storms raging in her family, causing every member to face unpleasant realities. As Janelle enters the aircraft, her heart thuds with the burden of potential. She is venturing into the unknown, equipped with nothing more than her will, her hurt, and her need for freedom. And on Season 20 of Sister Wives, nobody will ever look at her in the same way again. On Season 20 of Sister Wives, Janelle finally starts to see that she's let everybody else dictate her life for way too long. The house is silent, abnormally quiet, as if it's holding its breath right along with her. Sunlight pours across the floor, illuminating dust motes that dance slowly through the sunny morning air. She sits at the kitchen table, coffee abandoned, eyes scanning across the journal that has been her confidant. The pages are a testament to years of compromise and frustration, and quiet heartbreak, a chronology of a woman who has sacrificed bits of herself in order to preserve the peace, to prevent conflict, and to preserve the family. Janelle's hand wavers over the pen as she writes, hovering over the words that have finally emerged: spiritual divorce. Not an official proceeding, not a piece of paper entered into a courthouse, but a deeper, more intimate separation. It is about reclaiming who she is, setting boundaries she has been hesitant to set, and at last saying, "This is me." She is both scared and thrilled by the magnitude of her choice. Memories swirl in her head. Late nights lying awake, worrying about Kody's mood swings, holidays where tension between the wives simmered just under the surface of forced smiles, times when she was silent. She knows that every compromise, every sacrifice has made her smaller, quieter, nearly invisible. And now, as season 20 progresses, she knows the next move cannot be put off. Little does she know, the journey she begins here will spark a storm at home. Her fingers creep slowly, entering the words on her phone, with a deliberateness that is almost ritual. New Orleans, retreat, alone. The idea of going alone, of leaving Flagstaff behind, sends shivers down her spine and thrills her at the same time. This is no trip. It is a journey, an excursion into the unknown, a confrontation of the self she has kept buried for so long. Packing is both literal and symbolic. Each garment folded, each suitcase zipped, represents a piece of the past she is leaving behind. She carefully chooses items that reflect the woman she wants to be, not the wife, the mediator, the peacekeeper, but Janelle, fully and unapologetically. The plane ticket, now glowing on her screen, feels like a key turning in a lock, opening a door she has been too afraid to approach. As she passes through her house for the last time before leaving, she stands by the pictures on the walls. Smiling faces of children, co-wives and Kody gaze back at her, immobile in time. Every smile has a story, a history, a memory that she cannot disregard. And still, there is a strange excitement, a feeling that the life she has put off for so long for others might at last be hers to create. Seated silently on the couch, she shuts her eyes and inhales deeply. Her breath is filled with the faint scent of coffee and the residue of yesterday's cleaning, a dull pleasure now bordering on the holy. She envisions the path to come, strolling New Orleans streets, meeting strangers who might know her better than anyone in her hometown, sampling rituals and insight that might shed light on the way she's been groping. Each step she now takes is a step toward freedom she never dreamt of. Her phone vibrates, messages from family, notifications from friends. She ignores them, knowing the silence she bears is greater than the voices she has been quieting for years. This is her moment, her place, her life. And as she zips the suitcase shut, a sense of calm resolve descends over her. She realizes that facing Kody will be unavoidable, that lines will be crossed, and that the journey will not be simple. But for the first time in decades, she is prepared. As she steps onto the plane, Janelle looks out the window at the city of Flagstaff dwindling below her. Clouds float by slowly, a reflection of the hope and uncertainty churning within her. Season 20 has brought her to this turning point, a juncture between what is known and what is to come, between accommodation and freedom. And when the engines rev up, she takes a deep breath, steeling herself for a ride that will challenge her nerve, her heart, and her own sense of being. The journey she's embarking upon will force her to question everything she believed about family, love, and herself. Janelle disembarks from the plane into New Orleans' steamy air, a city bursting with music, color, and history. It is alive in all its glory. Street musicians playing guitars, spices and beignets on the breeze, jazz wafting from open doorways. For an instant she allows herself to breathe, allowing the heaviness of Flagstaff and season 20 to fall behind her like a receding shadow. She's not only here to discover a city, but to discover herself, to uncover the pieces of herself that have been lost beneath years of compromise. She strolls through the French Quarter, struck by the intensity of life that borders on the irresponsible as opposed to the measured existence she kept at home. Every corner, every alleyway, every secret courtyard is alive with potential. A quaint little shop pulls Janelle in, the type filled with crystals, candles, and scribbled notes taped to every window. She enters, welcomed by the gentle ring of a bell, and the smile of a woman who stands at the back of a counter. "I can assist you in discovering clarity," the shopkeeper speaks, her tone soothing, as if she already knows. Janelle nods, not knowing if she's prepared for the type of honesty that may be needed. She wanders through the shelves, picking up on a small, tattered journal with "Path to Freedom" marked on it. She opens it and reads aloud from a passage. "To reclaim yourself, you must first confront the truths you've been evading. Only then will you be truly free." Little does she know, the path she takes here will set fire to a tempest back home. Janelle drifts for hours, allowing herself to follow instincts. Around each corner, she finds something that mirrors her past, remnants of laughter, murmurs of arguments, echoes of the woman she once was. She pauses at Jackson Square and listens to a street musician play a mournful tune on a violin. The notes pull at her chest, and she understands that music has always been her sanctuary, a secret avenue for her feelings she never really expressed. That night, Janelle sits down with a spiritual counselor who introduces the concept of rituals as symbolism of moving beyond the past. Candles are lit, incense wafts on the breeze, and she is invited to inscribe the parts of her life that are bound to pain, fear, and compromise. With every letter she inscribes, she feels weight release, tension relax. For the first time in years, she cries unashamedly, judgment-free. As season 20 progresses, Kody and the rest of the wives have no idea the change is taking shape thousands of miles away. Janelle starts to realize that this isn't about arguing or getting back at people, it's about her. Her spiritual divorce isn't a statement to the family, it's a statement to herself. Each decision she makes, each limit she envisions, takes her one step closer to freedom. The darkness descends over the city, and Janelle alone struts by the Mississippi River. The water shines in the moonlight, casting shadows and promise. She is aware that when she goes back home, there will be no going back. The city has revealed to her a piece of freedom, and she cannot help but see it. The bravery she derives is ephemeral yet strong, an inner fire she must guard and tend. With every secret she discovers here, she takes another step toward the woman she was destined to be. As she walks back to her hotel, she thinks about what she will do next. Writing to Kody, setting boundaries, and committing fully to the spiritual divorce she has been fantasizing about. New Orleans has awoken her to a reality she could no longer deny. Her path is just unfolding, and each street, each note, each soft-spoken word of counsel seems like a map leading her down the path to the life that is hers. The city buzzes around her, indifferent and alive, and within Janelle, a revolution begins. No longer a wife, mother, or mediator, she is a woman taking back her power, finding her voice, and getting ready for the battle that is coming. Janelle sits at her desk that evening and starts writing a letter to Kody, one that will rock the foundations of her marriage and pave the way for the most dramatic confrontation of season 20. Janelle sits in the little desk in her hotel room, the lamp's soft light burning on her face. The city thrums softly outside, the distant sound of jazz music, the laughter of people in nearby cafes. But within the room is a haven of thought and contemplation. Season 20 has led her to this turning point, where she now has to translate into words what she had carried in her heart for all these years. Her fingers rest lightly on the keyboard, uncertain, shaking slightly as she starts to write. Each sentence weighs, each word a strand bridging past pain and possible freedom. She writes of compromise, of sacrifices and silence, of moments her voice was consumed by the wants and needs of others. She writes not to condemn, but to tell the unvarnished truth of what it has cost to be a wife in a family that requires perfection and conformity. She pauses, settles back, and gazes at the ceiling. Tears fill her eyes as she remembers the silent nights when she doubted herself, wondering if freedom was even achievable. The memories are vivid, fights she dodged, parties she silenced, feelings she concealed, and yet with each memory the determination grows. This letter will not be kind, it will not be compassionate, it will be truthful, it will be hers. Every word she writes could either heal or destroy what remains of their relationship. She continues to type, now moving more fluently. She informs Kody that this is not something legal. It is a spiritual proclamation. She clarifies that she requires boundaries, distance, and recognition of the individual she has been underneath the compromises. She mentions self-reclamation, rediscovering identity, and creating a path that belongs to her. Hours go by, and the letter lengthens, on the verge of being cathartic. Janelle reads every paragraph out loud, her voice snagging on some of the sentences. Memories come rushing back. The initial time she stood up to Kody, the many times she brokered peace among the wives, the times of tenderness and betrayal that have characterized their life together. Writing is a ritual, a release, a preparation for the confrontation that is certain to come. She prints out the letter, folding it neatly and placing it into an envelope. Holding it in her hands, she can feel the weight of the choice settle in her chest. This is not just words on paper. It's a challenge, a statement, and a line in the sand all rolled into one. It has the potential to alter everything, to change the status quo in which she has lived for so long. The following morning, Janelle makes her way through New Orleans' crowded streets to the local post office. The city swirls around her, unaware of the tempest she bears. She posts the letter, observing the envelope pass into the postal worker's hands with a combination of dread and freedom. The impact of this simple act will ripple through the family in ways she can barely imagine. Walking back to her hotel, she feels lighter, but uneasy. She knows that Kody will read the words, understand them, and respond in ways she can't anticipate. Christine, Robyn, and Meri will learn about it sooner or later, and the sensitive equilibrium of the family will start to change. Janelle is now holding the power for the first time, and it is both exhilarating and frightening. She rests on the bed that evening, gazing upward at the ceiling, visualizing Kody's face as he reads the letter. Will he get it? Will he fight? Will he try to command what no longer belongs to him? The not knowing eats at her, but a weird peace holds fast, a feeling that she has finally moved in synchronicity with her truth. The next thing she hears might turn it all around, but she knows she has begun by becoming herself. Janelle closes her eyes and allows the city sounds to put her into fitful sleep. The letter is mailed, the road is marked, and as Sister Wives enters its 20th season, nothing will be the same anymore once the words find their way to Kody's hands. The letter comes quietly to the Brown household, but its effect is far from quiet. Kody reads it at the kitchen table, the envelope shaking ever so slightly in his hands. The room is quiet, the children are out, the other wives occupied elsewhere, and time seems to have stood still for a moment. While he reads, his brow furrowed in confusion, frustration, and something he finds hard to define. Season 20 has thrown him into adversity before, but not like this. A spiritual divorce, a pronouncement that rocks the very core of their life together. Christine enters the room first, noticing the tension before she reads the letter. Kody, what is it? She asks, her tone wary, but acerbic. Kody doesn't respond at first, his mind whirling as he rereads Janelle's words. He feels blindsided, caught between anger, disbelief, and a guilty conscience for the years he might have taken her for granted. Robyn, who walks in a few moments behind them, picks up on the change in energy immediately. Her gaze darts between Kody and Christine, reading the unspoken tension like a printed page she has memorized. She questions, unspoken, what it implies for the family dynamics, and if she will be pulled into the fallout or stay an observer. Meri, curious but guarded, finally intervenes, inquiring, is this about Janelle? Kody nods but remains silent, conflicted between defending his stance and admitting the truth of what he's reading. The wives look at each other, all silently recalculating their grasp of the family situation. The tension is dense with anticipation, judgment, and fear, the kind that forms over time and weighs heavily on the chest. The storm here at home is just beginning, and it's going to put every family tie to the test. Kody finally says something, his voice gruff but laced with tension. She wants a spiritual divorce, he says, as if uttering the words aloud makes them true. Christine leans forward, her head cocked, her eyes piercing. That's not legal? She asks warily, but the incredulity in her voice does not mask the bite. Robyn, always calculating, slowly nods, weighing out the ramifications. She understands that this is not just a statement, it's a challenge, one that will cascade into their already tenuous family relationships. Meanwhile, Janelle is thousands of miles away, unaware of the reactions her words have provoked. She's exploring New Orleans further, visiting small spiritual shops, walking along the river, and letting herself feel emotions she had long suppressed. She senses a change within her, something powerful, fragile, and exhilarating all at once. At home, Kody summons a family meeting. The wives convene, tension filling the room, as he sets the letter before them. There is silence for a moment, the sort that implies unspoken assumptions, dread, and expectation. Every wife's face is a topography of her emotions, curiosity, worry, veiled judgment, and silent introspection. Every decision she's made, every line she's drawn, is about to spark battles nobody can foresee. Kody clears his throat and finally gets words out, trying to regain control, but they stumble under the weight of the situation. The letter has turned the tables, opened up space for Janelle's voice in a way that feels strange, even dangerous. He finds it difficult to react, to bargain, to comprehend. Christine and Meri exchange knowing looks, while Robyn observes warily, measuring her involvement. The fine balance of the family is disintegrating, thread by thread. After the evening, Kody sits alone in the kitchen, the letter on his table. He reads it again, grappling with anger, confusion, and an unmistakable ache of regret. Janelle's words have cut through defenses he never knew he had, compelling him to face truths he has shunned for years. Decisions that will be made in the next few days will try the bonds of loyalty, love, and patience, and there's no going back. The family scatters, tension lingering like a thunderstorm cloud, but the effects of Janelle's words remain. Season 20 has led them here, into a time of reckoning, emotional turmoil, and uncertainty. Every member of the Brown family is now forced to move through a world that has altered beneath their feet, and they will all be different when it is over. The confrontation day finally arrives, and the tension in the Brown home is palpable, heavy with anticipation and unspoken tension. Janelle remains in New Orleans, far away, steeling herself mentally and emotionally for the talk she knows she cannot avoid. She has rehearsed what she will say, practiced her tone, and prepared herself for pushback. Season 20 has led her to this moment of choice, where words are weapons and bravery is her only shield. Kody is pacing the living room at home, letter in hand, reliving every word repeatedly. His head is a storm of feelings, anger, confusion, guilt, and a nagging realization that he may have underestimated Janelle for all these years. Christine, Robyn, and Meri cluster around nearby, each with advice whispered discreetly, yet none of them are sure what to expect when the discussion starts. The tension is thick, tight as a pulled wire, poised to snap with the slightest tug. When Janelle's video call connects, silence is almost painful. She materializes on the screen, calm but clearly anxious, the vibrancy of New Orleans behind her. Slowly exhaling, Kody focuses on her face. The other wives sit in suspense, their faces a mixture of curiosity, worry, and silent censure. Janelle, Kody starts, his voice strangled. I received your letter. I don't even know where to begin. Janelle swallows hard, trying to keep her voice steady. Begin with the truth, Kody. That's all I'm asking. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to take back myself, to establish boundaries I should have established years ago. This has nothing to do with hating you. It has to do with loving myself enough to say no when I must. Her words fall like rocks in water, creating ripples outward, disturbing everything they touch. Kody prepares to answer, then closes his mouth again, searching for purchase in a conversation that has changed its dynamic in ways he had not expected. This meeting could either break her spirit or finally set her free. Christine leans forward, her voice barely above a whisper. Kody, maybe listen first. Just hear her out. Robyn's eyes constrict, thinking while Meri freezes, silently watching the emotional currents flow around them. Janelle goes on, her tone strong yet fragile. She shares times when she felt seen, choices made without her consent, concessions she made quietly keeping the household afloat. She clarifies that spiritual divorce is not a rejection but a statement, an affirmation of her independence and growth. Every sentence a call to the old patterns that have long governed their relationship. Kody listens, the constriction in his chest increasing, his fists clenching then unclenching. He senses the weight of what she is saying, the unshakable power of her determination. His early anger sees, giving way to a growing recognition of how he might have failed to actually see her. But old habits are hard to break, and the need to defend, to manage, to justify himself rages at him persistently. Every second of this conversation carries the weight of years spent in silence, compromise, and unspoken resentment. The argument escalates briefly, tension crackling like electricity. Janelle does not flinch. She remains steady, repeating calmly, I'm not asking for your approval. I'm asking for respect. I'm asking to be heard. That's all I've ever wanted. At last, Kody exhales, the struggle ending him in a gradual sigh of submission. He does not fully concur, but he starts to grasp the extent of Janelle's requirement for independence, the strength of her statement, and the repercussions of dismissing. The wives glance at each other. The clash of wills has upset the equilibrium irretrievably. This is the moment that will define not just their relationship, but the very structure of the family moving forward. At the end of the call, Janelle is both relieved and anxious. The confrontation has not fixed everything, but she has stood up for herself. She has been heard, her boundaries set, and a new chapter opens, one that will test Kody, the family, and herself. Even from thousands of miles away, the ripple of this conversation starts to redefine the household. Season 20 has come to a crossroads, and the road ahead is unclear, full of possibility, confrontation, and promise of change. Janelle awakens in her New Orleans hotel room, with a peace she hasn't known in years. The sun shines through the window, golden and warm, illuminating the vibrancy of the city below. Season 20 has led her to this point, a turning point where she starts to see that taking herself back isn't all about facing Kody. It's about taking back who she is under the layers of compromise and sacrifice. She walks through the French Quarter, taking her time to dawdle in places that were once strange. Cafes ring with laughter, street performers fill the air with music that tugs at her heart, and she smiles, laughs softly at absurdities and moments of wonder. Every step is a small one, but it is something, a statement that she is no longer tied to someone else's expectation. At a local painting studio, Janelle attempts painting for the first time in years. Her strokes are tentative at first, but the more she becomes lost in the colors, the more a feeling of freedom overcomes her. The canvas is a reflection of her interior world, vibrant, bold, and unapologetically hers. She finds that autonomy is not merely a term, it is an act, a practice, a choice made every day to reverence herself. Day by day, she's showing herself that freedom is within reach. She starts to journal again, this time with purpose, writing about her emotions, her findings, and her ambitions for the future. Boundaries that she once avoided setting feel more defined, easier to maintain. She rehearses uttering no in small ways, experimenting with her voice in safe zones, and sensing the power it provides her. The afternoons are spent strolling along the Mississippi River, the water refracting moonlight and city lights so that the whole scene is like magic. Janelle sits and thinks about the fight with Kody, reliving it in her head, not with remorse, but with appreciation. She views her bravery, the strength in her honesty, and the newfound clarity of finally putting herself first. The spiritual guidance she had been seeking earlier takes hold. Rituals, meditations, and talks with teachers shed light on patterns she hadn't seen, showing her where she had been overgiving and where she can reclaim her power. Each epiphany a spark, each choice a stepping stone to independence. Each revelation she discovers here is a step further along the path to the woman she was always destined to be. Even as she matures, though, the shadow of the family drama continues to weigh on her thoughts. Kody, Christine, Robyn, and Meri drift through her mind, reminding her that independence will not be easy, and that old habits can try to reassert themselves. She is still prepared though, with clarity, courage, and a fresh sense of self. Janelle starts seeing the next phase of her life, not one of compromise, but of purpose. Friendships, hobbies, personal aspirations, all of it seems possible for the first time in years. She knows that although the confrontation with Kody was a turning point, this continuous process of self-discovery is where freedom truly exists. The city buzzes about her, awake and alive, the beat of it mirroring the pulse of her own transformation. She knows that the act of taking back her identity is not one that takes place once. It's an ongoing process, and she is finally dedicated to doing so, wholeheartedly, unabashedly, and fearless. The choices she makes now will echo through her life and the family, proving that transformation is not only possible but inevitable. Janelle closes her journal that night, looking out over the city skyline. Her heart feels lighter, her mind clearer, and her spirit stronger. New Orleans has given her more than reflection, it has given her courage. And as season 20 rolls along, the family will start to feel the aftershocks of her change in ways they could never imagine. In Flagstaff, meanwhile, Kody sits by himself in the living room, the envelope with Janelle's letter open on the coffee table. The force of her words is crushing him like a physical weight, one heavier than any he's had to bear throughout season 20. The house is still, strangely silent, as if the very walls are holding their breath, waiting for the next step. Kody's thoughts spin round and round, shifting between rage, confusion, and grudging acceptance that something basic has changed between them. He remembers the times in the past, the choices he made in isolation from Janelle, the ways in which he ignored her emotion, the little sacrifices she did without his noticing. Every memory hurts now, more than before, because he knows them for what they are, free from the defenses of rightness he had built up over the years. The truth is a sobering one. The family he had believed was stable is no longer so. and he is the focal point of the turmoil. The day of reckoning is near and in sight, and he realizes there's no going back. Kody's phone buzzes with messages from the other wives, Christine, Meri, and Robyn. Each has their own perspective, their own advice, and their own interpretations of Janelle's action. They urge caution, empathy, and sometimes strategic silence. But none can offer the clarity he craves. None can tell him how to navigate a situation where the rules he's always relied on no longer apply. He struts the living room, raking his hair with one hand, the only sound the creak of floorboards beneath his footsteps. Anger simmers just below the surface, defensive reaction, but moderated by a qualm of guilt nonetheless. Kody sees that the spiritual divorce is not just a pronouncement, it is a challenge, a mirror held to his own shortcoming, and the power structures that have run unchecked for so long. Kody starts writing in an unusual moment of self-reflection, something he does not do often. Wording pours onto the page, frustration, confusion, fear, and reluctant respect for Janelle's bravery. He confesses, at least to himself, that he underestimated her strength, resilience, and the depth of discontent. Season 20 has put him in a position he never had before, one where listening and comprehension take precedence over control and negotiation. Every choice he makes now could either repair bridges or deepen the divide irreparably. Later that night, Kody ponders the family dynamics and his own place within them. He understands that Janelle's announcement is not so much a personal boundary, it's a call about the system he's created. He starts to ask himself questions about his own assumptions, the unspoken rules of the household, and what long-term effects come from neglecting the emotional needs of those around him. Despite the growing clarity, tension simmers. He knows that confronting Janelle again will be necessary, yet he fears the intensity of that conversation. Will he respond with understanding or defensiveness? Will the family accept her boundaries or resist them? The uncertainty gnaws at him, a persistent reminder that the balance he once relied on no longer exists. The turmoil within him reflects the turmoil he can tell is brewing at home, and the decisions he will make next will determine the direction of their family. While Kody gazes out the window at the darkening horizon, he's imagining Janelle in New Orleans, strolling the streets, taking back her power, becoming stronger with each step. He has a combination of fear, awe, and desperation. The future is uncertain, and each choice he makes now weighs more heavily than he ever had before. Season 20 has brought the Browns to a turning point, one where the past meets the present, and in which all interactions have the potential to redefine relationships for eternity. Kody is aware that the confrontation with Janelle is imminent, and the result will not only change their marriage, but ripple across the entire family. The time of truth is approaching, and none of us can say who will be more powerful, or who will fall behind. Janelle returns from New Orleans, her suitcase packed heavier with memories than garments. She enters the familiar walls of her Flagstaff home, but everything is different, like coming home to a house waiting for her to enter her own strength. Season 20 has brought her to this place, to where decisions she made miles and miles away will crash into the reality she's used. The family is in the living room, with tension heavy in the air. Kody sits patient, waiting for her to talk, his face a combination of fear, guilt, and respectful wariness. Christine, Robyn, and Meri linger close by, each digesting the seriousness of the moment. Tension hangs heavy and electric, until finally Janelle releases a breath and starts. "I've been gone to find myself," she states, her voice firm but warm. "And what I've come to understand is that I can no longer live in the shadows of choices that don't belong to me. I'm not doing this to cause pain. I'm doing this because I must take back my life, my boundaries, my voice, my identity." Kody nods slowly, taking it all in. For the first time he notices the depth of her strength, the bravery it takes to hold her ground, after decades of compromise. There is no venom in her voice now, only clarity, coolness, and conviction. Every member of our family is about to feel the ripple effect of Janelle's change. The wives look at each other, each silently processing what this does for their own life and relation. Robyn's face lightens somewhat. Christine furrows her brow in thought, and Meri watches the dynamic play out quietly, aware of the changing dynamic within the family. Kody clears his throat, speaking tactfully. "Janelle, I see you, I hear you, and I respect what you've done to find yourself. I don't completely get all of it yet, but I do know that I need to be supportive of you." And the words dangle in the air, like delicate glass, lovely but breakable. Janelle experiences relief, moderated by the awareness that the way forward won't be without its difficulty. Boundaries will have to be reinforced, routines might conflict, and feelings will burn. But for the first time in years, there is a sense of hope. A hope that the family can endure her independence, and might even become stronger for it. Janelle breathes deeply, looking around the room at those who have molded her into the person she is today. She understands that her spiritual divorce is not a mere act of separation, but rather an act of reclamation, empowerment, and self-love. She can now manage relationships without losing herself, and the bravery to do so emanates from her in subtle but unshakable ways. Her decisions will echo for years to come, reframing love, respect, and boundaries in the family. Later that night, the family sits together, working through the changes that have taken place. Kody thinks about his own part, about habits he needs to break. The other wives see the value of standing together in solidarity with each other's choices, while respecting personal. And Janelle, for the first time in years, feels she is fully engaged in her own life, free to seek out, free to learn, and free to flourish. As darkness descends, she goes outside onto the porch, gazing up at the stars above. The season 20 journey has been life-changing, emotional, and sometimes overwhelming, but it has also given her the clarity that would have been impossible to find anywhere else. She smiles gently, aware that her life is hers to craft, and that the strength to establish limits has brought her something so much more than she ever could have. Freedom. The narrative isn't finished, but Janelle has taken back herself, and everything will never be the same. A gentle breeze stirs the leaf, bringing with it the hope of things to come. The family will still encounter strife, disagreements, and surprising, but the seeds of transformation have been sown. Janelle's story has established a precedent, a reminder that even within a knotty web of relation, one individual's strength can be a catalyst for change for all.